Hello YouTubers. I have got a new piece of software that will speak the words that you type. I am going to get new batteries for Christmas.
Hello YouTubers. That bit of software that I downloaded, I did it to try and help my son who can't speak very well and thought he might be able to use it, but it's far too memory hungry, so it won't be any use to him. And what I wanted to talk to you about today was to tell you that all of you know that when I first came into YouTube I got all of this attention from newspapers and things, and they labelled me the virtual granddad. That's just one article, I suppose, and I thought, oh yeah, right, that'll be the day. But as time has gone on, I'm finding that lots of people do in fact regard me as a granddad, and I'm absolutely touched and enjoy that status. One of the things that has surprised me intently is the fact that young people actually watch my videos, and I get letters from them telling me that either they didn't know their grandparents, or that they didn't talk to them, or they wish they had, and things like that. So I think I do now have that sort of role, which of course is a bit of a responsibility, because I must always behave as a granddad would behave, and I really wouldn't want to do otherwise. But when I read between the lines of the lot of the letters, I'm sensing that so many people seem to have some guilt about either what they have done, haven't done, or what their thoughts are, and I think that's not nice, and there is no need for any guilt. This wide generation gap really cannot be bridged. It's got to be a movement on both sides, and I want to tell you about my relationships with my grandparents. And I think in my day it was very much more difficult, because we were told as children that if you were in the company of adults, that you must only speak if you are spoken to. So we were put off from ever having the possibility of speaking with them. And I didn't know my maternal grandparents. I got a vague memory of my grandmother on the maternal side, but only pictures of my grandfather. But I did know, and was taken to visit regularly, the grandparents of my father, and it was the most terrible experience. They lived in a Victorian house with one window with the curtains drawn. I can still remember the smells in the backyard from the outside toilet. I can still see a picture of a fern growing up on a damp wall, and I've hated ferns ever since. Inside the house was completely miserable. My father's sister lived in the house, and I didn't have very charitable thoughts to her at all. Later on in life, when I realized that she had dedicated her life to looking after her parents and sacrificed her own enjoyments in life, of course I thought differently. But I was a child, and some of the young people who are talking to me, they are not children of that age, but there is still this generation gap. And I remember being taken up to the bedroom of my grandparents and sort of exhibited as a trophy, if you like, with my two grandparents lying side by side in bed, with the smell of the commode in the room, and it was absolutely terrible. They must have said something to me, but I have no memory of anything that they said. So that was my experience of my grandparents, and I sincerely hope that it's not the experience of people today, but there is no need to feel any guilt about anything you may or may not have done in relation to the older generation. It is such a wide gap, and sometimes it cannot be bridged. Perhaps my friend Tom, the psychologist, if he sees this video, he would be able to explain it better than me. But the interesting thing to me is that, again, I'm going to read you one of my stories, and it was written, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago, and when we were given the exercise, I chose to write about that very experience that I have just told you about. So why should I, 60 or so odd years after the event, feel it necessary to write about such things? So guilt might still be in my mind as well. So I will read you the story, but what you have to know is that if I wrote it today, I would put it in a different format because it is not that good. But the exercise, we had to start the exercise with a sentence which said, "I was never allowed." So here we go. What's the time? Oh dear, this is... No, I might get it in time. It's entitled, I entitled it, "Why Couldn't You Tell Me?" And if I can clear my throat, this is it. I was never allowed to know what was in the chest. Now that I had the chance, I didn't think I wanted to. She's gone now, and part of me wanted to allow her secrets to go with her. Let someone else clear out the house. Why did Mum and Dad insist that I come to help? Why do they call this a monk's seat, Grandma? Because they didn't have many possessions, and it served as a seat, a storage space for their private things, and when the top was down, it made a table for their writing. What private things? Things they didn't want anyone else to see, I suppose. Don't ask so many questions. What's in it now, then? Don't be cheeky. My private things, not for you to know till I'm dead. When I entered the room, I saw that the top was up, forming a seat, the raised top making a hard upright back, the seat in which I was always made to sit, with knees together, nowhere to rest my arms, and not knowing what to do with my hands. He's a big boy, isn't he? Got big knees, he'll grow into a fine big man. I sat in the seat automatically, rather like a dog returning home to his kennel and familiar space. I don't know why, but I felt a sense of sorrow. The room was just the same as I had always known it, just as cold, just as dull, the red velvet curtains half drawn across the window as they always had been. The two china dogs in the hearth, and the mantelpiece draped with a tasselled cloth. The same huge picture of galleons in battle on a wall decorated with flowered wallpaper long since faded and dull. There were 3 other chairs, each identical, with cushioned hard seats, straight-backed and wooden arms. There were white-laced squares of material on the backs of the chairs, which Grandma straightened whenever the chair was vacated. The table, with its solid elephantine legs, was covered with a plum-coloured cloth matching that of the mantelpiece, with the same gold-coloured tassels. The gloomy room was so familiar to me, a room I had known and hated for all of my life. 3 years ago, at the age of 14, Mum had finally realised the futility of forcing me to visit. I smiled as I remember how I had heard her voice calling me to get up. It seemed such a long way off, as though she was calling from a distant mountain, with the sound being muffled and filtered by a morning mist. Even from the depth of the duvet over my head, I sensed that it was still dark, and resisted opening my eyes, preferring to remain in my dream, which was rapidly evaporating. The distant mountain suddenly seemed more like a volcano. It shook me, and my mother's voice erupted. "Come on, Peter, I've been calling you for the last 5 minutes. Why do you pull that duvet over your head like that? Now get up, you know we're going to visit Grandma today." I frantically felt for my shorts, hoping I could find the opening and drag them on, knowing that objection would provoke Mum into pulling off the duvet. All right, I'm coming." I pulled the duvet off my head and moved as if to get out of bed, hoping that it would show sufficient effort to encourage Mum to leave the room. "Good boy, come on now, your breakfast's ready." She left the room with a parting command, ordering me to put on my clean white school shirt and the jumper that Grandma had knitted for me. "There's no way I'm going to wear that thing." "You'll wear it and like it. Grandma took a lot of trouble to knit that for you, and it's made of real wool." "Big deal." "Well, she needn't have bothered. It's horrible, and anyway, it's too small." "It's a bit small, I know, but she doesn't see very well now, and it took her a long time to do." "I'll say it did. She measured me when I was 11. "I'm not going to argue with you. Do as you're told. Get on with your breakfast. You can wear it in the house and change to that long thing that you pull down over your knees when we get in the car." "Why do I have to go?" "Don't be silly, because Grandma's very old, and she won't be with us for always. You know she'll be disappointed if you don't go. She's always pleased to see you. You could have fooled me. In that gloom I doubt that she can even see me, and she rarely speaks to me, so I doubt whether she'll know whether I'm there or not. Don't you give me so much lip. I don't know what's getting to you lately, I really don't. Mum, please don't make me go. Tell her I've got an important football match." "But you don't play football." "I know that, and you know that, but she doesn't. Please, Mum." And so it was. I lied to her about what I intended to do. She tried one more attempt by reminding me about the chocolate cake that Grandma would have baked specially for me. I wanted to say, "I wish I'd never said I liked it. She gives it every time we go. I hate that dark chocolate, and it's as dry as a bone." But actually said, "Tell her I'm sorry, and would she please send me a large piece home with you for me?" To be truthful, my day of freedom was miserable. I thought I'd go and see if I could find Judith. I didn't. The next English lesson she sat next to James Woolley. I knew what they were doing. Instead, I lay in my kennel with my head on my crossed paws and sulked until they came home. I didn't know what I expected to find when I opened the chest. Private things, she had said. What private things could an old woman have? On the top there were finely embroidered small garments. I imagined that they were baby clothes and christening robes. There were blankets and a small toy furry rabbit. I took them out and laid them on the floor. Beneath there was a framed photograph of a young man standing beside a tank in the desert. He didn't look much older than me. He was handsome. He wore boots and long socks. His chest was bronzed and bare. There was a photograph of a grave in a cemetery, and next to these, the letters. I don't intend to tell you or anyone else what was written in them. You can guess that they were letters from her husband or boyfriend. They spoke in very simple words of his love for my grandmother. I read them all, unaware of the pain in my knees from my position in front of the chest. Many letters referred to the forthcoming birth of their child, my mother, a child he was never to see. I haven't told Mum yet that I found them. I know that I should, but don't know whether I will. I need to read them again and again. Something inside me seems to be saying that Grandma would want me to have them. At the bottom of the chest I found a bundle of cards. Cards with childish drawings and words written in unformed child writing. I realized as I spread them out that they were the cards that I had drawn and sent for Christmases and birthdays at an age that I could no longer remember. Oh, Grandma, why couldn't you tell me? Oh, crikey, I see that's gone on for 15 minutes. I'm so sorry, but I had to read the story to, complete the theme of the video. So, I hope you enjoy. I must leave you quickly now, and until the next time, goodbye.